मधुर मनोहर अतीव सुंदर ये सर्व विद्या की राजधानी राजधानी।
Well, my dear students, today we are going to start the new topic on rolling of metals. The previous lectures you have seen on forging, different aspects of forging, and as you know, the forging has been the very early process which developed by mankind. The rolling is also a bulk metal forming process, and in this lecture we are going to cover the topic like the process of rolling, the different types of rolling processes, analysis, slab method, how do you analyze and you find out the power and the deformation power, etc. We would also look into the different kinds of forging defects that is very often observed, and one has to be very careful that there is no defect is found while the rolling takes place. We would also subsequently see the different rolling mills. As you know, there are different types of rolling mills. The plate rolling mill, the slab rolling mill, ingot rolling mill, billet rolling mills, and there are many others. So, we are going to speak on these issues, all right. So, let us start with, so what is rolling? In fact, rolling is a bulk deformation process in which the thickness of any workpiece in fact is reduced by compressive forces, by action of a compressive forces, and that is exerted by two opposing, that the rollers that moves in two rollers that moves in opposite directions. The rolls rotate to pull the simultaneously and squeeze the workpiece between them. Like if you see here in this figure, the two rolls, the top roll and the bottom rolls, both are rotating, and the direction of work flow is shown of the workpiece. So, this rolling process especially this is called as a flat rolling, right, because you are using a flat plate and it is being rolled to reduce its height from the previous height to a reduced height. So, if you look at this, whether you perform rolling by cold rolling, hot rolling or warm rolling, that could be different processes, and the what kind of alloy you are going to roll, what is the production speed, and what kind of metallurgical properties you are expecting out of the rolled product, that is very important. In fact, the basic process which is which has been shown earlier figure, the two rolls and all that, that's a flat rolling, the very basic process, and this process is used to reduce the thickness of a rectangular cross section. A closely related process is also called as shape rolling. If you look at here these figures, in which a square cross section is formed into a shape such as an I-beam, right. So, you can look the shape rolling, you have a square cross section, you are going to produce I-beam or rail cross section, the usually rail tracks are used. In flat rolling also, the initial plate, then you can reduce to a smaller thickness, and then the same the reduced thickness can further be rolled to further reduced thickness, and the width would also increase, and then the same can also be used in subsequent passes to make foils and all that also. So, if you look at this last figure where you have the shape rolling, you can also roll the rectangular cross section billet into a circular cross section, that is also a kind of shape rolling. So, the raw material and the final products both in flat and shape rollings are like this, which is shown here, alright. So, what you find, as in general, if you look at when you start rolling, how do you start? So, in fact, after casting, the ingots are being cast, right, in casting industries. So, those ingots after casting are rolled into one of the three intermediate shapes, which is called as blooms, okay, or billets or slabs. So, the ingots are to be first rolled into three intermediate shapes, which is called as blooms, billets and slabs, alright. The blooms have a square cross section, usually 6 inch by 6 inch or maybe larger than that, and they are rolled into structural shapes, whereas the billets have a square cross section around 1.5 inch to 1.5 inch or larger, and they are rolled into bars and rods. So, whenever you want to roll bars and rod, you should go for what? You should start with a billet. Similarly, the slabs have rectangular cross section around 10 inch by 1.5 inch or larger, and they are rolled into plates, sheets and strips, etc. So, these are the three very basic or intermediate shapes that is obtained after rolling ingots, right. As any other metal forming processes, rolling can be performed either in hot, that we call it as a hot rolling, or it can be performed in cold, and that we call it as a cold rolling process, right. Most rolling is carried out by hot rolling, because you require a bulk deformation process owing to the large amount of deformation which is required, right. Hot rolled metal is generally free of any residual stresses and has isotropic properties. On the other hand, it does not have closed dimensional tolerances, and the surfaces has a characteristic which has got oxides, scale, etc., right. So, moreover, cold rolled metals are very strong, and it does not have the oxide formation and all that. So, that is a positive thing. So, let us see the cold rolling process, which is performed at room temperature, as you all know. So, at room temperature, the rolling increases work width, and this is what is called as spreading. When you roll it, the width increases, and this is what is called as spreading. So, spreading is expected because of the volume constancy in plastic deformation, right. Volume remains constant, and since the material is compressed in the thickness direction, both the length and width will increase, provided that the the material is not constant in the width direction, alright. So, spreading is more pronounced with low width to thickness ratio and low coefficient of friction, since there is a small resistance to flow in the width direction, alright. So, starting with this cold rolling, let us see the cold rolling of flat, that is flat rolling and related analysis, alright. Now, let us recall back the previous lectures where we discussed about the true strain and all that, true stress. So, basic equation is starting with the true stress strain experienced by the work in rolling is basically based on the stock thickness and stock thickness before and after the rolling, right. So, how do you write the true strain? So, true strain has been nothing but the natural log of T0 by Tf, where T0 is your initial thickness and that is before rolling of the plate, and Tf is the final, that is which is less than T0, okay. And you know the average flow stress in flat rolling can be determined by very simple equation which is given here, y average, that is the F, which is equal to capital K, the true strain raised to the power n divided by n plus 1, where you know the capital K is the strength ratio, n is your strain hardening exponent, and you can refer for this the tensile testing lectures that we discussed earlier, and also remember the power law where the stress was given as capital K and strain raised to the power n, okay. So, if you recall this one, so this average flow stress in flat rolling can be found out. In this process, a sheet will be rolled. Let us look at some experimental type of things. So, let us have a sheet which will be rolled to say 4 stage or 4 passes. What is a stage? Say when there is a one set of roller, second set of roller, third set of roller and fourth set of roller, and you are asked to reduce the total thickness to a very small. So, in one pass you cannot design reduce the size very drastically, otherwise lot of defect would appear, okay. So, what we do, we can do it in the stages. So, let us think of a sheet which will be reduced, which will be rolled in 4 stages. So, in each pass the average flow stress can be determined using this formula which is given here. So, for each pass, that means the y average, the previous equation if you look at, it is the same thing. So, the y average for the ith pass, that is the average flow stress in the ith pass is given by capital K. The true strain of the ith pass raised to the power n plus 1 minus previous pass true strain raised to the power n plus 1 divided by the epsilon I minus epsilon I1 and multiplied by n plus 1. So, where y average I is the average flow stress in the ith pass, that is the strain after I minus 1th, that is the before the ith pass, would be simply natural log of T0 by T I minus 1, that is all. The end strain after the ith pass would therefore be what? Natural log of T0 by T I, that is all. So, it is a very simple, very straightforward equation. So, capital K is your strength coefficient and strain hardening exponent is n, alright. So, to calculate the roll force usually very important, required to maintain the separation between the two rolls. The roll force capital F can be calculated in a very crude manner by this equation, where that means 1.15 multiplied by y average I, ith pass, multiplied by Li, that is Li is the approximate contact length in the ith pass, and multiplied by Wi, which is the width of the seat in the ith pass. All right. So, this equation, general equation, can be used to calculate the roll force required to maintain the separation between the two rolls. All right. So, capital F is your roll force. The torque in rolling then subsequently can be calculated once you have got the roll force. So, this torque can be calculated, can be estimated by capital T, which is capital T, and it is nothing but 0.5 multiplied by capital F multiplied by L, where capital T is your torque in Newton meter, or it can be in pound inch. F is your roll force that you have calculated previously, and L is, capital L is your contact length. So, contact length is the part of the seat workpiece which is in contact with the two rollers, right. And once you have calculated the torque, one can very easily calculate the power required to derive the two rolls, so that these rolls are able and they drive it well without any problem. So, the power requirement for driving the two roll can be calculated by capital P, and this is what is given as 2 pi multiplied by capital N multiplied by capital F and multiplied by capital L, where capital P is your power, which is in joule per second, that is watt, or it may be inch pound per minute. Capital N is your rotation, that is the RPM, the roll rotation speed, and capital F is your roll force, and capital L is your contact length. All right. So, you can calculate the power, and accordingly one can select a proper motor. So, what we get out of these three equations? One can conclude that the contact length decreases with decreasing the roll radius, because it is, if you look at the terms. Secondly, the roll force depends on the contact length, and therefore reducing the roll radius will reduce the roll force. All right. The torque and power depends on the roll force and the contact length, therefore, and therefore reducing the roll radius will reduce both the torque and power. Is it okay? That is very simple out of these equations, simple equations. And fourthly, the conclusion is the power also depends on the rotational speed of the rolls, and therefore reducing the roll RPM will reduce the power. So, keeping these 4 points, one can design the rollers, one can design the RPM at which, and that is closely related to the production, that is the productivity that one wants, and accordingly one can select the motor and the type of mill, right. So, you can also see out of this that on the entrance side of the slab, on the entrance side of there is no slip point. All right. The roll is therefore faster, and the seat and therefore the frictional force is in the rolling direction. On the exit side, if you look at the no slip point, right, the roll is slower than the seat, and therefore the friction force is opposite to the rolling direction. So, these two things, that is the point, there is a point shows that there is a point before the friction is in one direction, and after that point the friction becomes in opposite direction. This point is called as neutral point, right. So, the compression force on the rolls multiplied by the frictional coefficient equals the frictional force, all right. It is a simple thing, and increasing the frictional coefficient therefore will shift the neutral point towards the entrance, all right. So, these are very important points in rolling. So, in rolling, frictional force is very important because it is responsible for rolling the seat between the two rolls. Rolling may not be possible, the seat will not be pulled therefore, if the draft angle is large. Okay. The maximum draft for the successful rolling one can calculate by this formula, which is D max is the maximum draft for successful rolling is nu square multiplied by capital R, okay, where nu is the coefficient of friction and R is the roll radius. Okay. So, as one can see from these equation that if the nu is 0, suppose that means friction is 0, then D max is also 0. That means rolling is not going to take place at all, it is not possible at all. So, that is the use of friction, very important, especially in rolling. In fact, defects in rolling may be either surface defects or structural defects. If you look at, we will discuss more in on details of the different defects that is found, but the surface defects include usually scales and roll marks, while because in hot rolling basically where the scales are formed and roll marks are also there. In structural defects, like the next slide we would show you, in the structural defects there could be wavy edge, which is bending of the roll causes the seat to be thinner at the edges, which tends to elongate more. Since the edges are restricted by the material at the center, they tend to wrinkle and form wave like edges. Secondly, the center, and the second one that we would show you now, the center and edge cracks are also formed, which is caused by two material ductility and barreling of the edges. Thirdly, alligatering defects that results from inhomogeneous deformation of R, which is a defect in the original cast ingots itself, it happens. So, other defects may include your residual stresses. In some cases residual stresses are desirable however, but sometimes when it exceeds then the desired limit, then it is problematic. So, you can look these defects which is called as the structural defects in seat rolling. Number one, which I said in the direction, if you see the wavy edge. Second one is the central center cracking, the edge cracking, and alligatering is the one. So, these defects when you roll, it is not desired that it goes out of the product, in the product. So, one has to improve the process, one has to look the reasons of defects, or if there is a minor defects are found, then you have to trim the side sometimes, or you further roll it. So, one has, the purpose is to show you here what are the different types of rolling. As far as the rolling mills are concerned, as I said, there are different types of rolling mill configurations are commonly used, like the two high rolling mill, that consists of two opposing rolls, and these rolls may rotate only in one direction, that is non-reversing type, or in two direction, which is called as the reversing type. We will show you the figures related. The second one, which we call it as the three high rolling mill, that allows a series of reductions without the need of changing the rotational direction of the rolls. Third, the four high rolling mills, using small rolls reduces power consumption, as you know, but increases the roll deflection. So, in this configuration, that is four high rolling mill, the two small rolls, which is called as working rolls, are used to reduce the power, and another two rolls, which is called as the backing rolls, are used to provide support to the working rolls. All right. And the fourth variety one can consider as the cluster rolling mill, which is another configuration that allows smaller working rolls to be used. There are other variety like the tandem rolling mill, where we have series of rolling stands are generally used. So, these various configurations of the rolling mill that I discussed, one can see here, that is the two high rolling mill, then this is the two high rolling mill reversing, then sorry, the three high rolling mills, and the four high rolling mills, and the tandem rolling mill, and the others. So, the last one, that the tandem rolling mill, where the series of rolling stands are there, that is your all right. So, one can see the direction of the rolls in all that, and very important is the last one, where let us look at certain exercise kind of things like a lab. So, let us look at the basic rolling parameters and some of the fundamental principles in rolling, like how to calculate the roll force required to reduce the thickness of a given aluminum strip. Secondly, let us verify the plane strain assumptions used in the rolling analysis, if you previously see, and identify where the plane strain assumptions are not valid, and to calculate the percentage spread in such cases, and evaluate the strain hardening phenomenon in rolling processes, and let us see to identify some defects involved in the rolling process. So, let us have a lab kind of exercise here. So, for this kind what we require some equipments. So, one can go for the scale down model of an individual rolling mill. The rolling mill basically has two rolls, as I said, powered by an electric motor. The distance between the rolls, which is the roll gap, we call it as a roll gap, can be adjusted by rotating a pair of rotationally calibrated screws at the top of the roll stand, and that we call it as the housing, right. We will see the figure. And to keep the roll gap constant, one has to ensure that the two adjusting screws have been properly adjusted to the same calibration number, because if you increase the number more, it will be disturbed. So, because there is a mark on each roll housing used to align the calibration marks on the adjusting screws. Okay. So, look at this picture where the scale down rolling mill is used in the a simple labs. So, you can now mark the adjusting screw here, and this is what the roll housing stand where the two rolls are coupled, and the rollers you can see, right, you can look at. So, adjusting screws, if you look at, these are the marks. So, you have a calibration numbers, it is, if you look at. So, let us see how would you use it. So, as far as rolling, one has to obtain the material data first, right. That means the value of, what is the value of K and what is the value of N from either it is given to you, whatever material is given in any lab, and record it in your proper data sheet, and then you record the following initial conditions of your sample strip that you are going to roll, like what is the thickness, you measure the thickness, what is the length, what is the width, and what is the hardness, that is HRC, Rockwell hardness, and what is the average of the three measurements, like say, because you must take at three places, here, here, at the in beginning and in the middle, and take the average of all those, so average, okay. And then you set the roll gap for the first pass, right. So, the previously you can see the adjusting screw to 5, let us have a set to 5, and then you start the rolling, okay. So, once the rolling has take place, so it is rolling being rolled, so the one has to feed the strip through the mill, right, and make sure not to feed the strip at an angle, please note, into the rolls, right, because the initially it has to beaten by the rollers, and once it is carried out and then you record the thickness, length and width and hardness after the first pass has taken place, again HRC, and the average of the three measurements, that is at three different points after the first pass, and then further you reduce the roll gap by 1 unit per pass and repeat the same steps, that is step 3 to 6 for the remaining 4 passes, because I discussed, we are going to discuss the 4 pass rolling of so the in the second part, let us now estimate the coefficient of friction. So, what we would do with a new sample, one can start and record the initial thickness, okay, and measure the roll radius, and then in the third step set the roll gap to be 1 mm on the adjusting screw and start the rolling mill, okay. So, as the fifth process, very gentle attempt is made to feed the strip through the mill, but do not force the strip into the mill. Hold the strip as level as possible and let the friction between the roll and the strip pulls it in, okay. So, this must be in the case to get the accurate data regarding the frictional force, right. So, note the strip well, not to be pulled on this first attempt, okay. One has to be careful like this. And last one can then calculate the coefficient of friction. Then what one can do is open the roll gap by steps on 1/2 unit on the roll set screw and repeat the step 5 until the mill just pulled in the strip. The number on which the roll is set is not important, and only the initial and the final thickness of the specimen are needed. All right. So, as the seventh step, record the final thickness and complete the calculation with the formulas which was provided initially, right. So, one can then, as the third part, one can calculate the transverse strain in rolling. So, in this section of calculation, one will use a strip of aluminum that has a lower width to thickness ratio. This section, therefore, that we would see that the fact that the plane strain assumption which we have done in those equation in rolling must be used carefully, right, and only for particular cross section only. So, how to proceed? That means first one has to record the specimen initial width and thickness, and then the roll gap. Let us put the roll gap as 3 mark 3, and roll the strip and then record the final width of the thickness. So, one can notice that there is a change in all directions. Okay. So, this is what the example, the strip which is one can use for this exercise. Just now I explained the strip having low weight to ratio, W by T ratio, that is the width to thickness, and another is the high width to thickness ratio. Two types of sample has been shown. So, this is what is the picture that is showing the sheet rolling process. So, here left side is the plane strain condition which is expected out of, and here the spread is expected in this case, because the plane strain condition width is more as compared to the, but here the spread therefore would be expected out of the smaller W by T ratio workpiece. All right. So, this is what the very simple the rolling practices. In fact, when the cold rolling, in hot rolling, what is the situation when we perform hot rolling? Usually the input workpiece material is kept in furnace, and hot rolling temperature, you know, the hot temperature. So, that is kept in furnace, and once the rolling has to be started, it is taken out of the furnace and it is put to the roller, the first pass, and then it passes to the second pass. In between there is cooling. So, water in usual processes, water is being spread, and accordingly to the temperatures and all that, and the RPM and all those things, the roll passes from one stand to the another, and then it comes out. You know, the in multiple pass rolling, the speed increases, because you go on reducing the seat in each pass, and it has to be ensured that there is no defect or happens to be there at any stage. And if you look at the usual very industrial scenario in industries, how we do initially these if it is from the plate. So, what I have seen, a plate of 1.5 meter width and around 15 centimeter, or say 6 to 8 inch thick plate. It is kept in tunnel furnace for around 10 to 12 hours, and then it passes through, and say if it is 10 meter plate, it will reduce to around 1000, or say 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer length strip, maybe 1 meter or 1 mm thick, 2 mm thick, like that. So, the hot rolling is very interesting, but the hot rolling, as I said, there are more and more controls. So in usual practice, the hot rolling that is performed in industry is very interesting because the controls of the thickness, the controls of the defects, the controls of the microstructure, the controls of the speed, and all these without any defect. So the rolling mills and the monitoring of the rolling mills, because at any stage if the roll gap, if the stresses or the temperature it comes out of, so anything may happen. We have seen that the whole the rolling strip, it goes up around 10 to 20 meter high if something goes wrong, while the temperature or sometimes if the water being sprayed is not proper, then also it may happen, it goes out of the, and it may create lot of accident also. So as far as the rolling is concerned, the different very common, the steel rolling, stainless steel rolling, aluminum rolling is very popular. As you know, the strips, the foils, aluminum foils are very popular product in the food industry as well as packaging industries as well as. So the rolling area, especially hot rolling, has been very interesting. So design, as far as the designing of the rolling, designing of the rolling mills equipments is on one side, and the process design is on the other side. So process engineers do the processing part, selecting of the proper process conditions for the rolling, and the equipment engineers decide the type of equipment, the automation level, the control level that must be there for any rolling mill practices. If you look at the very common practices, so this lecture what we covered, the very basic in the rolling. In subsequent lecture later we would cover other details, especially the slag method analysis, and then how do you calculate for the in a much better manner. One can also use the upper bound method for calculating the roll powers and all that. The slip line method is also used, and analysis as far as the modeling is concerned, that is also very common in industries. The commercially good products is required of good quality. So if these are not achieved, if these are not given, and this purely depends on the type of practices, rolling practices followed, as far as the process is concerned, as far as the quality is concerned, as far as the controls at various stages of the rolling is concerned. So we would close this lecture here, and hopefully we would again meet in the next lecture, and I thank you all for keeping patience, and also expect your feedback and suggestion of this web based lecturing, so that what else we can add. We can add, okay, let us see this video of rolling, small rolling. You can see the two rollers, right, and you can see that this how the seat is being inserted here, and you see that it's a reversing one can the hot plate going from one side and then again to the second side, and this is what the industry varies, but it's a locally managed rolling, and this I thought to give you as a feel of rolling. Okay, so thank you once again for keeping patience.